Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Paterson, again here with another video, and today I'm back in this office. I wasn't supposed to film this video in this office, but it is snowing outside. There is so much snow outside, it is ridiculous. I'm not walking up in that. Back by popular demand is a series that you guys absolutely love, and that is Pimp My Logo. So last time I worked with David Hunt and I created his logo. He was a designer and he wanted his logo pimped. This time I'm working with Mike Media. He's a graphic designer and a videographer, and he's doing it by himself, and he wants me to change up his logo even though he's got a bunch of great feedback on his current logo. So what you're seeing right now is the logo from Mike Media. This is the current logo that he's using. Now my job in this video series, that I'm going to make a video series, is to pimp that logo out. Now by pimping, I do not mean simply just making it look better, but I'm going to make it work better, look better, and also give you something professional. Or at least I'm gonna try, because I've only got like half an hour to do these. So the first thing that you do when you're starting any design project is to always sketch. And I've got my field notes book here that I'm going to sketch into with a pencil, and let's see how many ideas I come up with. back in the office. I'm going to go ahead and vectorize some of the logo designs that I think that work best. Now, as you saw during the idea stage of the logo design, where I was just sketching basically in this little sketchbook here, I was sketching down all ideas. So regardless of whether they were good ideas or bad ideas, I was just sketching them all down. The reason why I sketch all my ideas down is because I want to get everything in my mind onto the paper. All these ideas on the paper are actually telling a story, and it's giving a process. Now, you'll be surprised when you use a pencil and paper to sketch out your ideas first, because it opens your minds up to new options and possibilities of how to create that logo. Okay, so I've finished vectorizing some of the ideas that I had in my sketchbook into Illustrator, and I did film it, and I was going to do a time lapse, but it was taking ridiculously a long time. So as you can see on the screen here, I've got a bunch of these vector things here going on, and it looks kind of like a mess right now, and it's because it is. So my first thought when it came to designing this, or my first sort of brainstorming thing, was it was Mike Maz Media, and his logo already shows that it's using the M, and I wanted to keep doing that. So this is more like a rebrand instead of just pimping the logo. So one of my sketches, I saw that the M, the Gothic version of the M, was probably going to be a good idea. So I wanted to play around with that a little bit. The problem is with Mike's current logo is that it's too thin, and I didn't like that, because when it's really small, you can't see it. But with this Gothic one here, as you can see, it's really small, but you can see it. And the great thing about Gothic lettering is that it's contrasty and bold, and it has like that sort of historic feeling to it. I even played around with the M as well, and I gave it some drop shadows. So I ended up just going for this one here, which was a nice sort of black looking M here. And the way that I created it was through basically like that, just using different shapes inside of it and doing a drop line there, because that gives it a bit more definition. The next idea I had was sort of like a very vintage monoline emblem type of logo. Because he was using a monoline typeface, basically, I wanted to try and replicate that and make it a bit bolder, a bit more interesting. Now, this is a bit of a controversial logo because it's kind of complicated, but it works as an emblem. So over here I have the emblem ideas, and these are basically just exactly what I was doing inside of my sketchbook, aside from I made it very symmetrical. So the way that I did it is I created this border through reflecting everything. So I basically created one side of it and I reflected it over to the other side into quarters, basically, aside from the bottom parts here. The way that I created these lines were through the pencil tool, because if you use the pencil tool with the trackpad, you can get really smooth lines if you wanted to, and it's got that smoothing feature, which is very nice. So I didn't actually use the pen tool for any of this, aside from the letter M there. I then decided when I zoomed out or scaled it down, it looked a bit weird. It kind of looks like a backwards W, right? So I was like, that's probably not the right M to use. So I could go ahead and make these sort of stems here vertical instead of on an angle, but the problem with that is that I didn't like the look of it. So I've just made it a bit bolder. I basically just doubled the size of the stroke for the M, and it looked a lot better. Then I thought to myself, why don't we just go ahead and shove in the black letter M? Now the reason why I did that is to show that it's got some sort of like block in the side of it. So it's got a bit of a texture to it, but it's also looking pretty decent. But I didn't like that, so I went to this one here, and I liked this version of the M, and I also liked this version, but it didn't work very well. Now the last version of an idea that I had for the logo is a very roughly drawn one, and it isn't correct whatsoever. It looks kind of strange right now, even to the fact that I need to balance this out and make it optically look correct. So I'm just gonna like go ahead and do this really quickly, just make it into an actual shape. There we go. So this last logo here is very simple, and it's kind of Great Gatsby sort of feeling to it. The reason for that is just because I liked it, and I think it suited him a lot. Now you've got to remember, with this sort of series, I have not done any research into you. I am just literally chucking ideas out at you of what you could do differently to make your logo better. And from what I've seen, is the main point that you need to focus on, Mike, is you've got to make it more noticeable, and you do that through contrast. And the contrast that I'm using here is quite showable when it's small. Like this logo here is great. It can work when it's got an inline, it can work when it's got an outline too. For instance, we can make a variation of this, and we can literally just take this, duplicate it down, go ahead and put the paint bucket tool in there, choose that, there we go, And you can see that M works just as well right there too. It may look a bit too bold at some points, but it still works. That's the main thing. And even with this logo here, we can do like a lot of things with it. For instance, if I just go ahead and move this down, we can add a shape to the outside of it to make it a border if we need to, but we don't really need to. But the sort of shape that I would go for, kind of like this. Let's keep it to the same stroke width. I mean, this is probably not the right shape either, but let's give it a go, see what happens. Why not? We could do that shape. It probably looks a bit weird. Yeah, I like the look of that. That looks cool. So you can see what I'm doing there. I'm just creating ideas based on what I think of you. But when you create a logo, you've got to make sure it's functional, and the functionality comes first, then the aesthetics of it will come after. As long as you've got the functionality part right, you've got the aesthetics as well right afterwards. Thank you so much for watching this video. This video has been sponsored by FreshBooks. Now, FreshBooks is an online invoicing platform where you can create invoices easily, gather up all your expenses, and get paid quicker. I use FreshBooks to send invoices to my clients, to also gather up all my expenses so I can, at the end of the tax year, get it all ready for me, and I know exactly how much profit I'm making and what's going out and what's coming in. FreshBooks is actually unreal. The best part about it is that when you send an invoice to a client, you can see if they have viewed that invoice. So if they forget to pay you or do not pay you, and they say to you, we haven't paid you because we didn't see the invoice, you can tell them that, you know, on this date at this time, I saw that invoice. If you'd like 30 days completely risk-free of FreshBooks, then press that link down below and make sure you tell them how you heard about them, which is through me, Will Paterson, telling you on this video. If you like this content and you want to see more of it, then press that red subscribe button down below, and also make sure to click that bell button, which will notify you every time I upload a new video. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you soon.